People love to say modern life is broken, but half the time, the complaints are honestly dumber than the problems. Some gripes are legit, I will give you that. But hey, nothing is perfect. Others, like kiosks, boarding passes on your phone, etc., they just strike me as a refusal to adapt. Yes, I've had to mute some more YouTube videos recently because I'm so tired of this narrative that modern life is fatiguing or whatever. But before we get into how modern life is pretty good, actually, despite a few issues that they're not completely wrong about, be sure to give this video a like, comment what you think about all this. If you want to throw hate at me because I'm being, I don't know, annoying or sounding like a conformist, go ahead. Just keep it respectful. I also want to say that if you don't like something, that is your right. I am simply expressing an opinion to the contrary to try and add a little positivity. Don't forget to also subscribe for cultural commentary and rants from a man caught between generations. And last but certainly not least, feel free to join me at the Zillennial Nexus Point Discord. Link will be in the description below. Now, what really got me thinking about this was a couple days after my most recent McDonald's experience at the one at the Boston Common, where the kiosk ordering was so quick and efficient, I saw this really sappy Facebook post about ordering a black coffee from McDonald's through that kiosk being less human. God, it was such a long post about something about looking people in the eye and the whole thing being dehumanizing despite being quick and efficient, which is just part of a larger trend of endless complaints about tech, subscriptions, and phones. And we'll get to subscriptions in a moment. But yeah, modern life just isn't perfect, but it's not worse just because it's different. Like in my case with the Boston Common McDonald's kiosk. It was quick, I got my reward dollars, and I still had some human interaction when the person brought out my order. When it was my lunch order, she grabbed a straw for me, even though I was literally right there and could have gotten the straw myself. See? There's still some human interaction. I was able to tell her to have a nice day. God, the way that post put it, you'd think that was all just automated restaurant from beginning to end. No. There's still a human being who brings it out, and that also happened at the one I went to somewhere else in the city after the Harry Potter exhibit in the aquarium. Except this time I dined in. They brought me a tray. Yeah, I don't see the problem with these kiosks. I don't get it. You tell me in the comments what you hate about these kiosks. They save the company money, they save you time, and you can just put in the order, and then it's out in a reasonable amount of time. It was quick, easy, and again, I still had some human interaction by a quick thank you to the person running it, getting the food out. It doesn't have to be this prolonged exchange. It can be a nice, quick, simple thank you and have a nice day. You just have to accept that they have other things they need to do. Technology does not erase humanity, it just shifts it around. Nostalgia makes people exaggerate what's missing. So, that sappy Facebook post made it seem like ordering through the kiosk was missing the humanity when okay, maybe you're not ordering the coffee through a person, basically doing what you would be doing on the kiosk yourself, but they still bring it out. Again, I say all this from my personal experience with three different orders. I think four. Did I order the McFlurry last year separately? No, I think I did it all in one transaction. But yeah, four different, three or four different orders across two different McDonald's locations in the city of Boston. I ordered the kiosk. It was no problem, and a human being still brought out my food. So, if pressing a screen instead of saying number four combo ruins your day, maybe the problem isn't the kiosk. I mean, if you enjoy saying number four combo instead of pressing a screen, that is your personal preference, and I respect your preferences, even if I don't agree with it. But newsflash, you can still look a human being in the eye like I did when I got my quarter pounder meal and later my ice cream cone and apple pie. The human element of ordering fast food was never Shakespearean dialogue anyway. Most of the time, it is a very quick exchange. Maybe there's a little more to it, depending on who you get as a cashier. Like, if I can throw in a quick little compliment or a noticing of something when I'm ordering something with a human being, I might do that and I'll see what happens. But ultimately, they're on something of a deadline with their work, so you can't take too much time to do that. Anyway, the next complaint about modern life I wanted to talk about is the phone dependency complaint. I want to push back against the complaints about needing a phone for everything. It's not new, it's just the modern version of needing a wallet, an ID, or a boarding pass. Older people cling to paper, but printed tickets will either be niche or an Americans with Disabilities Act exception because I'm pretty sure at a certain point there's probably Americans with Disability Act exemptions that could be put in if they said no more paper tickets, except if you have a disability for something. I enjoy the novelty of printed tickets here and there, like my Halloween outing from the museum and the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And I still keep some printed tickets in my memory box. Or I'll print it out ahead of time if I'm concerned about something happening to my phone, like with Moonwalkers, an adult night at the museum, because that was my first time taking the T into Boston in my adult life, and my first time, well, it was my second time going places like the museum and the AMC. But now I feel confident that I don't need that. I did not print out a backup for Jaws the Mugar Omni Theater, and quite frankly, I wouldn't feel the need to do that for future trips, except most other times I would go to the Museum of Science. I would not buy my tickets till I arrive there anyway because they're non-refundable, and I don't want to buy a ticket even a day in advance and then fall violently ill the next day and then be like, well, that's money down the toilet. So why are boarding passes on your phone suddenly tyranny? I'd love to hear your reasoning in the comments. All right, now on to the subscription complaint. This one's a big one, and I understand that not everything works as a subscription. Like, a valid argument against subscriptions is the heated seat subscription for the BMW cars. Like, why? The hardware's already there. Like, that's taking it too far. The HP printer, the one that charged the subscription, that one's dumb because, again, the hardware is already there and paywalling it is robbery. To reiterate where I think subscriptions make sense, as I mentioned in my subscription, how to get the most out of subscriptions video, cloud storage and streaming services, and even software to an extent are fair game because they are intangible goods or services and not products like a car or a printer. Yeah, something with ongoing costs like cloud storage, like a streaming service for their servers hosting the libraries that you get access to, or in the case of software, updates to make sure that it keeps running smoothly or cooperates with newer hardware, I think that makes sense. Again, it does not make sense for something where the hardware is physically already there. The point is that people conflate the two and just scream, subscription's bad without nuance. Yes, BMW's heated seats are stupid and just plain bad business because the hardware's already there. Monthly fee to watch an entire library of shows, or to use software that gets consistent updates, or to keep a remote backup of your files. That's just good math in my opinion. Yes, I still have an external hard drive that I keep offline backups of my files on, because again, I'm not stupid. I know that servers can crash, or as Dave Cullen put it, clouds dissipate. Yeah, you don't buy a cloud server once and own it forever because it's not a sofa, it's a service and a nice backup for an external drive you own. Because what if something happens to the external drive and you need to buy a new one? Sure, someone might be able to recover the data. Personally, I'd rather pay the monthly fee for a cloud storage service of some kind to be able to restore a new external hard drive if something happens to the old one. Because one of the physical media videos I've watched, they said that external hard drives have finite shelf lives too, so there's that. Anyway, the Outrage Brigade, they treat every subscription like a hostage situation, but most are just rent for convenience, like how renting a place to live is a little more convenient because you don't have to deal with all the maintenance and such. And it's a lot easier to pick up and go, comparatively speaking. You can enjoy the friction of the old way if you like, but understand simpler ways will take over eventually, so it's best to get used to it now. Everything does have a trade-off. For example, medicine. Today we treat conditions that would have ended or disabled people in the past. It's not perfect, like this one commenter on one of my videos who claimed that India's moon landing was faked. They said it, not me, YouTube. They claimed that no diseases have been cured in 50 years. But hey, maybe it's not as simple as that. Like, my ninth grade English teacher said that she, as the widow of a husband who died of cancer, said that cancer might not ever really be cured because there are so many different forms and so many different ways it affects people that they can't just make a one size fits all cure for cancer. I know that's a little morbid, but it's the truth. She compared it to a hydra because we were studying the Odyssey at the time, and I'm pretty sure if we were to talk to an oncologist, they'd probably agree that it's extremely complicated because a lot of cancers are different, and there are different places that can affect you. They can make advances and make new treatments, and this has me now thinking about the whole conspiracy theory about Big Pharma having the cure for everything, but choosing not to put it out there because if they did cure everything, then they wouldn't be making money off the recurring costs of medications. Look, a little side tangent here for a moment. I'm not trying to defend the multi-billion-dollar corporations. I'm trying to point out that it's more likely not as simple as that. The human body is very complex. Therefore, they can't just make a one-size-fits-all solution. Yes, they've eradicated some diseases like polio, but others might not be as simple as polio. Do you ever stop to think of that? Sorry, I just had to get that out there. Anyway, you also have to consider the environmental costs of both digital or paper because they both have downsides. Whether in the case of digital, there's always going to be some kind of environmental effect from generating the electricity to power the devices and the servers that verify the tickets and such on said devices, or that host the restaurant menus. And with paper, you're going to be using up trees no matter what. If anything, constantly reprinting new things is resulting in the ending of more trees. See, there's always a trade off. There's never going to be a perfect answer, just like my ninth grade English teacher said there will never be a clean cut cure for cancer. The point is, progress always has trade offs, and complaining about them doesn't stop them because every timeline does have complaints. We just upgraded from horses poop everywhere to my app doesn't download offline. Anyway, the point of this all is the world's never been perfect and it never will be. And people will always find reasons to complain. In the end, you either play by the rules of the timeline you're in, or you end up getting left out. Like Grandpa Simpson said, I used to be in on what it was, but then it changed, and now it's terrifying. The only thing you can control is yourself. So, I'm going to leave it here for the video. Comment what modern complaints you think are valid and which ones are just people refusing to adapt. Again, me personally, I think people complain a little too much about the McDonald's kiosks, but I can also understand subscriptions for something that you already have the hardware for in something like a printer or a car. Charging a subscription for that is just plain fucking stupid. Don't forget to also give this video a like, subscribe for cultural commentary and rants from a man caught between generations. And last but certainly not least, feel free to join me at the Zillennial Nexus Point Discord. Link is in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.